Twinkle, twinkle, little star.
He's alive!
Welcome to Where the Weird Ones Are.
Every time I speak, I want the truth to come out.
Powerful figures in Hollywood as well as powerful politicians who are in fact not human. They're reptiles or they're lizards or perhaps extraterrestrials.
I don't think it is a human. I think it's a Sasquatch.
Go ahead and run. Run home and cry to mama.
Let's get weird.
What's up, you fucking weirdos? This is Amanda from The Haunted and the Strange, and you're listening to Kevin on Where the Weird Ones Are.
What's up, you fucking weirdos? Welcome to another episode of Where the Weird Ones Are. My name is Kevin, but you probably already knew that, and if you didn't, now you do. Today's episode is with Scott and Ryan of Beyond the Shadows podcast, which is a phenomenal podcast. I can't say enough nice things about their show. I was on not too long ago. Come to find out, Scott and Ryan live right down the street from me. So it was pretty cool to do an in studio guest appearance. But yeah, so they come on today and talk about some ghostly stories. And I named this story the house that vanished or the vanished house or something like that. I can't remember. Um, because Ryan has a pretty interesting story about a house that basically just disappeared. Um, so that is probably the creepiest, well, not the creepiest, but a creepy story because the house that he talks about is right down the street from me, like the area anyways. Um, but Scott grew up in did I say Scott was talking about the vanishing house? As Ryan that was talking about it. Um, but Scott grew up in pretty much a haunted house. Ryan had random hauntings throughout his life. Um, and he may have seen a dog man, and he had people to corroborate the story of the possible dog man. So that is pretty interesting. Um, but yeah, no, they were awesome. They made me laugh. And laughter is the best medicine that anybody can have. But if you are struggling with depression, anxiety, or suicidal thoughts, I implore you here in the United States to dial 988. It is a suicide prevention hotline. Um, and they will help you out if you're struggling. And if you are struggling, please don't hesitate to reach out to me. May is Mental Health Awareness, so I want you guys to be as healthy as you can mentally. So if you need somebody to talk to, I will definitely lend you my ear. Like, I'm not gonna sit here and tell you you should do this or you should do that. Like, I'm just here to listen to you if you need somebody to vent to, unbiased and all that. So, but also if you're really, really need that extra person or somebody to help you, definitely dial 988. They'll definitely help you out. So, but if you need to reach out to me, or if you want to be featured on the show as well, you can get me at where the weird ones are at gmail.com. Facebook is where the weird ones are, and Instagram is where _ the weird ones are. So, uh, please do that. I'm so happy that you are here. I'm so happy that you are alive. And I'm so happy that you are here listening to me talk. I started this podcast as, for me to have these spooky stories, and I'm so happy to be able to connect with a lot of people, a lot of like-minded people, and make a lot of friends through this. So it's been it's been a blessing. So anywho, um, if you're interested in putting some fucking flavor to your food, to your steaks, especially because I love it on my steak, I'm gonna tell you that right now. Definitely go to flavorsforest.com and get you some raw garlic dust. It's Bigfoot breath. It's pretty tasty. I like it a lot. It's a lot better than garlic powder that you get from the store. Um, so that Matt and Nelson, they're both fantastic guys. Um, and so the garlic is tasty. It's also in my hot sauce, so if you ever end up getting some of my hot sauce, uh, it's a collaborative effort. Unknowingly, I just bought it. I bought it randomly, and then I met Nelson at Encounter Quest, and I was like, "Hey, man, your garlic is in my hot sauce," and he's like, "What? No way!" And so there began the relationship. So, and they're great people. So, definitely head on over to flavorsforest.com and get yourself some. They also have a spicy garlic dust. So, head on over there and tell them that Kevin from Where the Weird Ones Are sent you. And coming up real quick, actually, June 8th is 14 Fest. That is right here in Sanford, Maine at the Memorial Gym. I will be vending. I will have my hot sauce. I will have t shirts. Um, and I'd love to connect and talk to you guys if you're in the area and you want to come check it out. There's going to be a ton of vendors, there's going to be a ton of speakers, um, all phenomenal people. So, the best way to go is Facebook 14 Fest. That's FORTEAN Fest on Facebook, and you can get your tickets through there. And if you're having a hard time finding the Facebook page or anything like that, please reach out to Paranormal 5. They're on Facebook and Instagram and stuff like that. It's Missy and Richie. They are husband and wife paranormal team, and they are putting on this event. They're the ones organizing this event. So they will definitely help you out if you can't find where to get your tickets. So, with that being said, I have kind of sort of an announcement. If you're on the Instagram, you already know. But right after I got done recording with Scott and Ryan, we were talking about, their paranormal field trip, and they've invited me before that to come out with them on a paranormal field trip, and we started talking about the Conjuring House. And Missy and Richie happen to be friends with the gentleman that owns the Conjuring House. So I was just like, you know what? I'll reach out to them and figure something out. Actually ended up not reaching out to them. I actually just went to straight to the Conjuring House and set it up. And so June 18th, we will be most likely going live on Instagram. We're going to be staying overnight at the Conjuring House. Um, so yeah, I'm gonna bring my tent because I'm most likely gonna want to fall asleep at some point because it's overnight and I do I work early mornings. So, but we'll see. We'll see how it goes. We'll see how it goes. But I think I'm gonna be outside mostly. So, but yeah, so I'm gonna be at the Conjuring House on June 18th. Um, and Scott and Ryan from Beyond the Shadows podcast will be joining, and Joe from Tales, Trails, and Taverns will also be joining. So that should be a pretty good time. And I was telling my son this the other day, actually yesterday, and he's like, I want to go," and I was like, "Oh, it's $160 for extra people because they only allow 6 people." And then I was just like, "It's really fucking haunted. Are you sure you're gonna wanna go?" And he's like, "Let me think about it." I was like, "You're not going. Fuck it. I'm not even gonna waste the money." Um, so but he's starting to get really interested in this stuff, which I think is pretty cool, and he wants to do stuff with me, which I think is pretty dope too. Not that we never do anything together, but I also started teaching him how to drive this weekend. So I have a newborn, changing diapers, and then also teaching my 15-year-old son how to drive. It's pretty interesting. And I love it. I love being a dad. So, um, what else? I think that's pretty much it. Um, so anywho, please like, follow, share, subscribe if you like what you hear. If you don't like what you hear, that's totally fine. I don't need to hear from you. No, I'm just kidding. If you feel it necessary to say shit, then you go ahead. But um if you feel like leaving a rating and review, I would greatly appreciate it. 5 stars is definitely appreciated. A nice review is also appreciated, but not expected. So, you can also leave a rating and review on the website where the weird ones are podcast.com. And the Patreon is up. It's pretty inexpensive. It's only $5 a month. You get story time, conspiracy Tuesdays, and a free coffee mug. You also get access to the regular shows like this one, like a day or two early. Uh, Most people do a couple weeks earlier for early content, early access, but 60 hours a week being a dad and stuff like that, um, kind of fall. I have, I have too much going on, so you get it 2 days early. If it's a problem, then don't get on the Patreon, I guess. But if you want to, great. If you don't want to, that's totally fine. Again, the Patreon's there just because I do extra content for the Patreon. And don't expect anybody to join. But if you want to, great. It would mean a lot to me. But again, if you don't want to, that's totally fine. I do not expect anybody to join that. So, with all that being said, you guys definitely should check out Beyond the Shadows podcast if you haven't yet, because it's fucking fantastic, and they do great. They're phenomenal. They're funny, um, intelligent for the most part. I think I might be exaggerating on the intelligent part, but you get it. You get it. I'm just trying to be nice. So, all right, let's get into it with Scott and Ryan. Shit.
They're coming to get you, Barbara.
Let's get weird. Let's get weird. Let's get weird. Let's get weird. Weird. Get weird.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode. So happy that you're here. Today, I have two guests from Beyond the Shadows podcast. It's a podcast that I really enjoy listening to and that I've had the pleasure of being part of. I actually was an in-studio guest, probably, I think it was episode 70.
Yep.
I've been in group chats with Scott, and we were actually on one of Farah's episodes. If you guys remember the conversation cabin, which she's now Studio Sinister or Sinister Studio, one or the other. And this whole time, we didn't even realize that we both lived in Maine. And then once we did, come to find out, we lived literally right down the street from each other. So we thought that was pretty cool. And I was able to be an in-studio guest for them. So it's Scott and Ryan, and they do a phenomenal job. I highly recommend their podcast. But anyways, guys, how's it going?
Good. Thanks for having us, man.
Yeah, it's great, man. Thanks for having us on. We appreciate it.
Appreciate the intro.
Thanks for being here. Like I say, I all the time, like if I didn't have anybody like you guys to talk to, I'd just be talking to myself. Not that I wouldn't do it. I just don't know if it would be as entertaining.
Yeah, I do it a lot. It's not very entertaining.
We're here to prove that you're not the only weird one in Maine.
Yeah. So if you guys don't mind letting the good people know a little bit about yourselves and about your podcast, where they can find it.
Sure. So Beyond the Shadows is a dark podcast, which we try to bring some light into. We talk about a wide range of topics like hauntings, true crimes, UFOs, vanishings, reincarnation, cryptids, and all things like that, dark and mysterious. And we try to lighten things up by mixing in some laughs along the way. We hope they're at appropriate times, but I can't guarantee it.
Not always, but we try.
So we end every episode around the fire pit, where we swap the kind of stories you'd tell your friends with a drink in hand around a campfire. Scott and I tell some of ours, and we love hearing from you guys as well. So if you have a story you would like to tell around the fire pit, you can reach out to us at beyondtheshadows207@gmail.com or reach out on any of the social medias. You can record your story and send it in. You can write it in if you're shy, and we'll read it for you. Funny, mysterious, hauntings, anything like that you would tell your friends around a campfire is the type of stuff we like to run with. So.
Yeah, we definitely have to get that plug in. We need some stories. We're running a little dry. So
I
get
heard
that plug in while we can. Yeah.
You guys must have lost my extra one, huh?
No, Ryan hasn't edited it yet. That's all.
Is that what it is?
Well, I have. So I told the girls, Heather and Rachel, a story, and they're like, "You should tell that to Scott and Ryan for their fire pit." So I think I'll send you guys another audio. It's not it's not ghosts or anything. It's real life.
No, those are the best.
Not that ghosts aren't real life, but you know what I mean.
Yeah, we know what you meant.
So. Anywho, if you guys aren't listening to Beyond the Shadows, you should probably do that because you're missing out. I have a good time. I listen to you guys every week, so I appreciate the content and I appreciate the laughs because especially the news segments give me a good chuckle.
Oh, we appreciate that, man.
Yeah, thanks a lot, bud. We enjoy your podcast also.
Absolutely.
Thanks, man. Thanks. So I wanted to ask, what got you guys interested in starting the podcast to begin with?
I think it was, for me, it was wintertime, and I've got real bad seasonal disorder. I cannot stand to be cooped up with nothing to do. And I listen to a bunch of podcasts. Ryan was never much of a podcast listener. He listens a lot more now. But I hit him up because we both had the similar interests. I'm like, dude, you want to do a podcast? And he's like, sure, let's do it. Yeah. So for me, that's what it was.
Like you said, I didn't listen a lot. I was familiar with the format, but I've always been a big reader. And the type of stuff that Scott was proposing, I've always really been into, like the true crime and the mysteries and hauntings and UFOs and all that type of stuff. So when he proposed that to me, I was like, that sounds like a lot of fun. I'll read anything I can find on that stuff anyway, so why not talk about it? You know what I mean? It's fun. A lot of times when you finish like reading a good story, that's what you want to do anyways. You want to sit down and talk about it to one of your friends or something. You know what I mean? So,
but nobody wants to listen to us.
Yeah, no. Our family
now they
won't
do.
Listen, so.
No one around us. I just meant the people we know don't want to hear what we have to say.
Absolutely not. No.
I've noticed, like in my personal circle, I don't get like any kind of support or anything. Like they'll be like, "How's your podcast doing?" I'm like, "Well, you'd know if you'd listen, you know."
Yeah, we've experienced that.
Yeah. So
pretty much, only my family knows. I haven't actually told anybody that I know outside of that I even have a podcast. So it's a mystery to most people I know, but my family knows, and yeah, they don't listen.
Yeah.
That's the best part. They say they listen, but we can tell.
I literally didn't tell anybody. I just started posting, like, because I have a Facebook page, right? And I post stuff on the Facebook page, and then I'll share it to my personal page. And I don't know, I invited people to like the page, and some people did, some people didn't. And I mean, it's not the end of the world. It is what it is. Like, I mean, I literally don't care if nobody listens to my podcast, because I'm still going to do it anyway, regardless. You know what I mean? And that's the attitude I've had from the beginning.
That's
I'm
great.
just like, if you're going to listen,
you do it because you
if
want to
you're
do it. And you don't want to force anybody to listen. You know what I mean? You want the people
Right.
here that want to be here. If family and friends don't want to be here, then that's not the listener base you're shooting for anyway. So that's the way I look
exactly.
at it.
Right. And I've lost subscribers on YouTube, probably because there was an episode that they didn't like, and they were just like, you know what, fuck this, I'm out, or something like that. Or they were just fake freaking profiles anyway.
Yeah.
And they got
Well,
deleted.
you know what's
something like
funny
that.
is when you see your first episode that comes out, when you do a podcast, your first episode, it gets a few views, but as time goes on, if people checking you out, they always jump back to your first episode to see what you were like at the very beginning. So you can get a good gauge between your newest episode and your first episode, how many people decided they didn't care for it that much, because the first one's got so much more than the latest one.
Yeah.
It's like double.
And
You're not everybody's cup of tea.
They don't carry on to the second one, so you see how many you lose between the newest, the first, and the second. These guys are idiots. I'm done.
There's a little disparage.
The audio on my first episode fucking sucked. Like, and I put it out anyway because I knew it sucked, and I was just like, I mean, we took the time. We took 2 hours to do this. I'm gonna I cleaned it up as best as I could, as best as I know how.
Yeah.
And I put it out anyways.
Our first few never aired. It was just us trying to figure it out and talk.
Brutal.
Oh, so rough. So the first one wasn't really the first one, but
it's probably the fourth.
We did some practice before we went on, but yeah,
I'd
like to hear that footage.
No, you don't.
I want to hear it. I don't want anybody else to.
Oh man, so freaking David from down the rabbit hole asked me. He goes, "How quick were you able to get Ryan to bend over for you?" And I was like, "Whoa, what?" And then he was referring to the picture that I took at the end, because we were all of us, when I went over there, we did completely spaced it on like getting a group picture done. So I friggin' how you bent over at the table next to Scott. David's like, how quick did Ryan bend over? I was like,
more important is how much did he offer for the pick?
That's an important question.
There's a price. It isn't how fast, it's how much.
Exactly. But anyways, so I've heard you guys talk about like some personal paranormal, unknown kind of experiences. Scott, you've talked about growing up in a haunted house.
Yes.
Can you guys recall your first ever experience with anything that you can attribute to being paranormal?
You want to go first, Ryan? Or you want me to?
That's a tough one.
The very first experience. Oh, go ahead.
So I think I've told this one on our show because way back it was a fire pit, but I don't mind telling it again. So I'm guessing the first one that I can recollect, I was about 12 years old, back at the age where you and your friends just travel everywhere on your bikes. So we have a small town. So we were on a dirt road, kind of in like an off the grid area, even in the small town. And me and my friend were fishing, parked our bikes on the side of the road, hiked down by the river. So we went down there like way further than we usually do. We'd fish for like 20 minutes, walk on for a couple of minutes, fish a little bit more. And before we knew it, we were way up the river. I'm guessing like a mile. Bunch of junctions. We kept going further and further. Eventually we come to this old house. It was a really old house, and it's in the middle of nowhere. Looked like it had been abandoned for years. And the weirdest part for me is that there was no driveway, there was no path. Didn't look like there had ever been a way in or out. So, hadn't been anybody there in years. We were a couple of 12-year-olds. Obviously, you're going to go in. So we did. We went in, and you're not thinking you're breaking and entering. It's like an old house. Nobody's been there for years. Kids explore. So we went in, and it was old house, but there was nothing super creepy about it. It just looked like nobody had been there in 40 years. Really old photos, dust everywhere, stuff left about. So we're about halfway up the stairs for the second floor, and we hear somebody. She's like, "Who's there?" It was like an old woman's voice, and it scared the shit out of us.
I love his old woman's voice.
Who's there? So we stop. I'm not positive I heard it. You know what I mean? So I'm looking back at my buddy, and he's got like his arms up like shit. I don't know what that was. And again, we hear like, "Who is that?" And I was like, "What the fuck?" Now this time I'm positive I heard the voice. So we both go like darting out of the house. Outside, run back down the riverbank, and I look up over my shoulder as we're running. And I could see like the curtains on the second floor part, and there was this old woman looking down at us. Scared the absolute shit out of us. So we ran all the way back to the dirt road, hopped on our bikes, rode home. So like that night, I'm sitting around thinking about it, and the whole thing just kind of feels weird to me. And I'm like, it's like an old lady. She's in the middle of nowhere. We scared the shit out of her. So the next morning, I talked to my buddy. I'm like, we got to go back, explain it to her, make it right, do whatever we can do. So we did. We rode down there, up and down that river for hours. We found the spot we were positive that house was, but there is no house. There's just a burned out basement and a foundation. There was a house there, but it hasn't been there in years. So
Whoa.
I'm positive we were in the right spot. I'm positive there was a house there the day before, and we're both positive we saw and heard an old lady. So I don't know if it was like a true haunting, as you would say, or like a slip in time, or what we experienced. But I know what we experienced. I just don't know how to explain it.
Wow, man.
Yeah, isn't
I've heard,
that crazy?
That is crazy. I've heard one similar story of this guy coming across a church in the middle of the fucking woods. He was like hiking, and he was like well into the woods, and he's hiked there before, and he was like, I've never seen. He's like, that's weird. I don't feel like I've never seen this before. Went inside and everything, and then told people about it, and then he comes right back to that spot, and there's nothing there. So that's
I'm not the only one, then.
Interesting.
You know what's really cool about that story is it took place probably less than a couple miles from where I live now.
Yeah, it's close.
And not far from where you're at, Kevin. So one of these days, me and Ryan are going to make a trip up that river, see if we can find that spot
that's
where
the crazy
the
thing
house
is
was.
all the years since, I've never once tried to find that house again. Like, I'm positive we were in the right spot that day, so it never made sense for me to go back because I know it's not there. But I know I'll still to this day remember the spot if I see it.
Yeah, I want to go with you.
Yeah, absolutely.
What's that? Yeah,
Bring some gear
the
out
name
there.
of the road.
It's Boyle.
Yeah, Boyle. That's not far from
Boyle. Yeah.
Boyle?
Boyle, yeah. Connects Route 4 to Valley Road.
You drive by there on your way to work.
It's a dirt road, and about halfway down there's a creek. So if you're going from Route 4 to Valley Road, we went down the left side.
Okay.
The house was on the right side of the left side of the bridge, if you follow me.
Okay. Yep. I know where that is.
Yeah, that's a crazy story.
That's super interesting. That's a freaking crazy story. Holy crap.
I didn't know that
even
story
more.
until just recently.
I'd be fine if we went out there and the house wasn't there again, but if we see the fucking house, I'm leaving. You guys go in. I've done it once.
I wouldn't blame you one bit.
I don't think I want to hear that voice again. Answer me
sounds
this time, bitch. Who's there?
Larry. That's funny. Oh, man. What about you, Scott?
Well, the very first experience I had, I was really young. I wouldn't call it paranormal. I think I've told this story. You may have heard it. But when I was about 3 or 4 years old, I was at my grandparents' house in Elliott, this town in Maine. And they were building a barn behind their house. And me and my brother were playing on the wood pile, jumping from wood pile to wood pile, the wood for the barn. And I was following him. I followed him everywhere he went. And he jumped off of the wood pile, and I went to jump after him. And I slipped and I fell, and the entire wood pile slid down over the top of me. So I was stuck under a huge pile of wood. I was actually being crushed under a pile of wood. And then then all chaos took place. Everybody started screaming. They were trying to get the wood pile off of me. And I remember the neighbors were running over to come and help pull the wood off. I remember my sister, she was just screaming, frozen. And my brother and my mom were pulling off the wood, and my grandfather and everything. And I saw the whole thing, but I saw it from above. I was up in the air. Only way I could think of describe it now is like a drone shot kind of thing. You know, you see the drones up over the land or whatever. It looked like that. I was taking it all in from every different direction. Like I said, I could see the neighbor coming running over, and that was quite a ways away. And I could see all the people running and working on the woodpile and everything. And then the next thing I know, I wasn't there anymore. I was in a room that was like all black, but it's hard to describe. The walls were like black, but they illuminated. They were giving off light, but it was black. And there was an old man in a rocking chair, and I was sitting on his lap. And the only way I can describe him is what, as a little kid, you would think that God looks like. You know, he had white hair, white glowing hair, long beard, and everything was white. He's rocking in the chair, holding me, just rocking. And I remember he said, "It's okay. You're going to be all right. You're going to be all right." And I was just rocking in there. I don't know how long. It didn't seem for very long. And then from there, the next thing I know, I was gone, and I was back in my mother's arms. And so I actually brought this story up to her a few months ago because we had told it. And I hadn't discussed it with her since I was a little kid. And I was talking to her about it, and she said when she pulled me out from under the woodpile, she said to me, she goes, "You know what you said to me as soon as I pulled you out and I picked you up?" She said, "You looked me right in the face and said, 'It's okay, Mom. I'm going to be all right. I'm okay. I'm all right.'" Repeated it back exactly. And I didn't know that until, like I said, a couple months ago. So that would be the first paranormal type thing that ever happened to me. I attribute that to being more sensitive now. I'm more sensitive to things happening. And I think maybe it's because of that, just touching the other side just a little bit or whatever it really was. I think that made me a little bit more sensitive to things.
That usually seems to open the door. Somebody's like out of body or near death experience is when everything kicks in.
Right. Yeah.
So yeah, that's what I attribute to being. I'm a little sensitive to this stuff. I have some weird shit going on in my head. But no, that's.
Well, I will say after. Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say that's what I attribute it to. I think that's what started it all.
Yeah. Yeah. I would say, like, for me, similar, like, you know, because I tried to take my own life at 9, and then that's when, like, right after that, that's when, like, the big events started happening. Like, I was seeing stuff beforehand, but that's when it's, like, really ramped up, was right after that. And I don't remember, like, going anywhere. I just remember, you know, I just think I, you know, was in, like, that state of mind, ready to go. And then it, like, hurt so bad. I was like, oh, I couldn't fully go through with it, but, like, I was trying. And so, I mean, I didn't die or anything, and I didn't go anywhere physically, spiritually, but I just feel like that
changed things
that
for
turmoil. And
you think that opened the door for you, so to speak?
Yeah,
same kind of thing as Scott.
Yep. Yeah. See, I think certain people and families and stuff like that are more susceptible. Like me and Ryan are cousins, for those of you that don't know. And I believe a lot of people in our family are sensitive to it. For me specifically, I'm sure I was kind of sensitive, but something like that happening where you maybe just, you know, something that opens you up just a little bit makes it like I said, opens you up more.
Yeah.
So, I mean, Ryan's had a lot of experiences, but I mean, for me, I've had an absolute ton. But I think when people are together that have had something like that, it's even more so. Like, I worked with an individual at a hospital that was definitely haunted, but he also had an out-of-body experience or a near-death experience when he was a child. And when the two of us were together, it got crazy. The different activity and stuff like that. So, I don't know. I always thought of it as like, go ahead, Ryan. I'm sorry.
I was just going to say, so when we do like an on-site investigation type of thing, we're probably just asking for it. Bringing you and me together in a supposed haunted site. Like, gee, what can go wrong there?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Do you ever dream about something and then it like not 100% comes true, but kind of comes true a little bit at all?
Yeah, I actually had that happen once. That's funny you ask, because I was thinking about that the other day. But it's such a weird event in my life because it wasn't a big deal to me. I guess when you hear about somebody dreaming about an event, it's usually like a life-altering event for them or for somebody else. You know what I mean? Like it's really important. So I was still in high school, and I wasn't prompt then. I'm not prompt now. So I remember waking up in the morning, getting all my shit ready to go to school, but I just wasn't in the mood. So I laid back down and fell asleep for like 5 minutes. And I dreamt. I grew up across from exactly the road Scott lives on now. So it's kind of it's a busy road with a slower road that intersects it. And I dreamt in detail of an accident on that road. Like it was one car came off the slow road, got sideswiped by the other one. And I woke up, and the dream was so detailed, it was a strange dream. And I woke up and I was like, I was probably only asleep for like 3 minutes. And I was kind of like, what the fuck was that? And outside I hear like the screech and smash. And I go outside and it was the exact accident I had dreamt of just minutes before. But it wasn't anybody I knew. There was no serious injuries. There was nothing I could have done to stop it or prevent it. Everybody made it. So it never made a lot of sense to me. And like, it might have been a premonition. I don't know how to explain it, but I couldn't have changed it. Like usually when you hear those stories, it's like, traumatic event for somebody else, or it's a premonition, maybe you can change it. So I don't know what mine was. Just
right.
I was maybe 2 minutes ahead of time for a couple minutes.
Yeah, because I was wondering, because like with the near-death experience stuff and all that, like sometimes the dreams kind of get like carried away and stuff like that, and you can sometimes get like these premonitions out of it.
I wish my story was cooler. That's all I got.
I haven't had any. I don't remember my dreams on a regular basis. So, I mean, I know I dream, but I don't remember them, so I couldn't tell you. I know that I see. When I said I had some stuff going on lately, I've been seeing like images of shit that I can't work out what the hell they are.
Like in your dreams?
No, when I'm like just sit back and close my eyes, I start getting images of shit, and that's new. That's totally new. I've talked to a few people about it. I actually talked to Nicole with the Spiritual Sisters about it, and a few other people, because it's when me and Ryan and my brother, we went out on we went to Riceville on the what do we call it? Our paranormal field trip. It was one of our episodes on Beyond the Shadows episode. No, anyways,
shameless plug. Do it.
There's nothing shameless about it. Anyways, when we were out there, we looked around, did some investigating and stuff like that. But when I went back to the tent and laid down, I was getting crazy images running through my head. I was telling Ryan the stuff that I was seeing and everything, and it was all night long. I told you I don't normally remember my dreams, but when we were out there, it was all night long. It was like, I told Ryan, I'm like, I keep seeing like people standing around us, like they're moving in on us. They weren't doing anything, but they were like watching, moving in. And it was such an uneasy feeling, because some stuff like that, like I said, I don't ever remember my dreams. If I do, it's very rare. And that night, it was all night long, same thing. So, I mean, even before I was asleep, I was getting. I don't know what it was. It was just I was describing everything to Ryan as I was seeing it. It was. I don't know. Very strange.
It was crazy. Me and his brother had heard a dog bark before we went to bed. Like we heard it in real life, and that night he was dreaming about a dog. So I don't know if they were connected or what.
Yeah, I had actually seen, because we had just walked up one of the roads. It's an old tote road. A road through the woods, for those of you that don't know what a tote road is, and it's covered with trees or whatever. But I kept having a dream of a little boy. It wasn't a dream, just pictures in my head of a small boy walking up that road with a certain kind of dog. And I had never seen the dog before, but I described it to Ryan exactly. I told him what it looked like and everything, and then when we actually got somewhere where there was internet, we searched it, and it was an actual dog that looks just like that. It was a type of German Shepherd type. It had red fur with a big black spot on the back. I've never seen really long, fuzzy red fur with a black spot, and I've never seen a dog like that. But we pulled it up, and it's a breed of Shepherd. But that's the image that kept popping in my head. It was a boy. It wasn't in this day and age. It seemed like it was older, and it was walking up that road. And the two of them at different times had heard a dog bark, and we were in the middle. When we say we heard a dog bark, we weren't anywhere where there was houses or anything like that.
We were in a ghost town. There hasn't been anybody there in 100 years, and we're talking like 30 miles from the nearest town. We were in the middle of the sticks, so whatever dog we were hearing was not a dog of this day and age.
No, for sure.
Wow.
I never heard the dog, but I did have those
the
images
visions.
in my head.
Yeah.
DCI McAllister.
Listen, something's come in. 33-year-old male, name of Andrew Fairfield, found dead a few days ago.
As you know, I am doing a psychological study of the crew here on the base for Keone Industries to help them understand and improve base life during winter.
His body was found at the bottom of a small ravine, about a 30-minute walk away from the Antarctic base he'd been working at.
You know, life on the base means, it's close to 6 months without light. That does things to people.
That study that he was doing, to watch us and then set off us like mice round this special little experiment.
He told me he was there to stress them out.
You know he was secretly recording people.
Drew clearly talks shit on his recording. Some of it was true, some of it was his opinions.
I can't sleep, I can't close my eyes knowing that someone among us did this.
Nobody's getting to the base and nobody's leaving that base for months. The investigation is going to have to be done remotely.
How many people are on this base?
16 on this one. Someone amongst them is our killer.
Experience Cold Tapes, the murder mystery podcast game. Figure out the killer for a chance to win £10,000. Start your investigation at coldtapes.com. T's and C's apply.
So I don't know what it is lately, but like when I'm overtired, so I drive for work, right? And I'll be driving. Sometimes I'll be like, I didn't get enough sleep or whatever, and I can feel myself kind of like get tired. And lately I've been hearing like conversations as I'm like nodding off, like whether I'm driving or even when I'm home. Like if I'm like just like starting to zone out, I feel like I'm hearing somebody else's conversation. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't know how to explain it at all, but it's like
I know exactly what you're talking
voices.
about. I know what you're talking about. It's what I'm talking about, except for I'm seeing images with it. I hear stuff.
Yeah.
I see it's like I'm watching somebody else's life or hearing someone else's conversation, and it's not a dream because I'm awake, and it's very strange.
Do you get the feeling it's a current conversation, or you're picking up something from the past?
I can't tell. I can hear a couple different like I can tell that they're different voices.
Yeah.
And they're not mine. I don't listen to the radio. I only listen to podcasts, and I have them in my headphones. So when like my headphones are off is usually when like I kind of like start nodding off, and that's when I hear them. And I'm just like, well, I was like, there's nobody, like the radio's not on. I don't know what it is. And it's nothing like intelligent, like not like nothing that I can make out word for word. So I couldn't tell you.
Yeah. But don't you live in a haunted house?
Well, technically, yeah. Yeah, there's a lot of shit that has been happening here. It's like almost instantly when I moved in. Maybe not instantly. I think it took a couple months, which you hear that a lot too with haunted houses, that you move in and everything's fucking fantastic for like the first couple of months, then all of a sudden shit starts happening, and then it gradually gets worse and worse and worse until it's like a full-on poltergeist, which that's not happening here. You know, I do stuff to prevent that.
Yeah.
But I do see shadow figures, and I hear noises and stuff like that here and there. And shadow figures don't bother me, but I do tell them to leave all the time, because you never know what it could be, something disguising itself as a shadow figure. And the more people that I talk to too, I feel like I've opened myself up to calling them here. So I feel like sometimes certain people that I talk to kind of like send me gifts a little bit. You know what I mean?
No, we know exactly what you mean. We were literally just talking about this the other day.
We had that conversation literally a week ago, maybe.
Yep.
Yeah.
Because some weird stuff has happened a little bit to both of us. I'm in a brand new house, and there's nothing has ever really happened in this area. So I don't know. And Ryan's had a few things in his new house. So nothing crazy. Nothing.
I've only been here like 4 or 5 months, but yeah, sort of like you're describing. There's been a couple times I felt like I've almost heard a radio on in the other room, but there's not a radio on. It doesn't sound like a ghost, so to speak. It sounds like almost like a TV when you're hearing it through a couple of walls. I'll get to the room where I'm hearing it from, and there's nothing there. And I'm looking around, my phone's not on speaker, I didn't butt dial, nothing like that.
Yeah.
And it's small stuff, nothing that's really freaked me out, but it's happened 2 or 3 times, and I'm always kind of like, what the fuck was that? I haven't been able to put my finger on it yet. And my son's with his mother at those times, so I'm the only human in the house. So, you're always hoping there's that really easy explanation, like, oh shit, the clock radio popped on, but it's never been that,
Exactly.
Sort of like you're describing, basically,
Yeah.
And like you said, with hauntings and stuff like that, when, like I said, growing up in a haunted house, it wanes, it'll be very active, and then you might not have anything for months, even a year, hardly anything will happen, and then it'll just start back up again, like there's no explanation. It's never constant.
Yeah. It's like, it's super random. I was just talking with Rachel and Heather the other night, and I was telling them the story, and I'm like, I talk with my hands a lot, and I move around, and I had just sat my hat right over. You can't see it in the camera, but I sat my hat right here, and I'm talking to them, and then all of a sudden I just hear this flop, and I turn, and my hat's on the floor, and I'm like, and I just stare at my hat for a good minute, and I'm just like, not sure, like, if it was from me moving and like maybe like shaking the floor and shaking the desk a little bit and causing it, because it's like a baby thing here, because this studio is going to be half nursery, half studio, because I'm having a baby any day now.
Congratulations on that, by the way.
Absolutely.
Couple books, thank you.
Got to multitask.
And so I think it was kind of like teeter-tottering. So I'm not attributing it to actually being like paranormal something, but it fucking scared the shit out of me, and I was like,
oh, for sure.
But that's probably the most recent thing that I could say. Other than that, the last thing was like maybe a month or so ago. So like you said, it's not like 100%. It's not constant or consistent. So, Scott, if you don't mind telling us a little bit about the haunted house you grew up in.
So I used to live in another town over. It's South Berwick, and we lived in a house there. The house was probably, it was 100. When we lived in it, was 110 years old. It's probably like 130 years old, 140 years old. But the house was located. The people who owned the house worked for the railroad. So the house was located somewhere else in the town, and when the railroad moved, they picked up the house, they put it on the train, and they moved it to the new location. So I don't know if that attributes to one of the reasons that the stuff went on there, but the house was not in the original location where it was built. And there's a whole line of houses in that area that were all moved there. And the house sat on a... I don't know, Ryan, do you remember the basement of that house? You were pretty young.
I don't think I was ever in the basement. If I was,
it's just
I remember the house well, but not the basement.
It's just stacked stone, and then the top couple feet are brick, but it's basements. The creepiest fucking basement you ever seen in your life.
Yeah.
But the house itself, very, very active. But like I said, it wasn't all the time. It'd wax and wane. Sometimes it was very active, and then other times nothing would happen at all. It seemed like the more people that were in the house, the more active it would be. Like it fed off the energy of extra people or kids, that youth energy or whatever. So it started out small, like you said. the very first thing I remember in that house when stuff happened, you know, you'd hear doors close and stuff like that. But then it would change to like the TV. We got a new TV, and it would start changing channels in front of you. You know, the channels would just start going up, and then they stop and they start going down in the other direction. And I remember as a kid thinking, oh, something's wrong with the TV. And I remember I was like, what is causing, it was as stupid as this. I was like, what is causing, I would shake like car keys in front of it and the channels would change. And I remember telling my mom, look, I can change the TV with the car keys. And I would shake the car keys in front of the TV and it would change. And I'm like, somehow I was trying to connect it to anything. I was trying to find a reason why the TV would just change on its own. And then we had, it was very 80s. I don't know if you remember a touch lamp. They're the lamps that you just touch the lamp and it'll go through high, medium, low. Yep.
Yeah. I remember
we had
those.
one of those, and that's a ghost hunting tool these days. You know, you think about the stuff they have when they're ghost hunting. That's all that fucking lamp was. That thing sat there and it never stopped. It never stopped. It would go high, medium, low, and it was so bad that my mom unplugged it and gave it to my brother. And my brother had it in his room in the basement. And like I said, that was a creepy-ass basement. My father built a room down there. And
I can't believe your dad built a room down there and friggin'
parents don't give a shit, man, especially
I think
back
it's funny.
then.
I think it's funny she didn't get rid of it. She gave it to your brother.
Yeah.
Take this haunted shit down in the basement.
That kind of basement?
Yeah.
Like, oh my
Take
goodness
this haunted
gracious.
fucking lamp down in that scary-ass basement. You'll be fine, you little pussy.
Yeah, you like that.
And then
bring me back to the Snedeker.
Exactly. So he had that lamp in the basement one day, and it was doing exactly that. It was going through all the different high, medium, low. And so he went to unplug it, and it wasn't plugged in. And that light was changing on its own, not plugged into the wall.
Whoa.
Yeah, so
dude.
that's kind of how it escalated. The drawers open and close, doors. And then it got to the point where the neighbors were seeing a lady looking out the window. You know, we get reports from the neighbors like, hey, some strange things happen at your house when you're not home. And she's like, I used to see a lady looking out the kitchen. And one day my mom came home and she had that neighbor's daughter with her. And they walked into the house and they saw her float through she went right through the hallway and up the stairs. Her and the little girl both saw her go upstairs. And then
the house down.
Right? I could show you where the house is. It's still there. And actually, the people who lived in it before us, my mom just happened to be in Florida, of all places, and she ran into the people who owned the house before us in Florida.
What?
From some people that she knew. Yeah, she literally met people who owned the house before we owned it, all the way in Florida. And
she laid them out for not disclosing.
Yeah.
Big
There's
beach
some
brawl.
laws of that shit. But no, they told her that they had experiences in the house before that. And then there was the people that we sold it to, who we didn't disclose anything to. And then and that girl, my mom had heard like their neighbors, because they still lived in the same town at the time. And one of their neighbors was like, oh yeah, there's a girl in town that they were talking about, and she says, oh, she claims her house is haunted. And she says, oh, this and that happened. And my mom asked her, so what house is that? And they told her, and she goes, yeah, that used to be our house. That house is haunted. That girl ain't crazy. So it went from the people before us to the people after us. They all experienced stuff in the house.
So it's definitely attached to the house, and it didn't
Yeah,
follow
absolutely.
you guys?
No, I mean, everybody in my family has had experiences in the house and outside of the house, I think.
Yeah.
Pretty sure outside of the house. Actually, something really weird happened. Me, my brother, and my sister. I don't know if you know this, Ryan. I had joined the military, and I got in an apartment. My brother was in an apartment in Berwick, which is another town over, and my sister had gone to college, and she was up at UNO. No, University of Maine.
Orono?
Orono, yeah.
Yep.
And when all three of us at the same day at the same time had something happen to us. I can't remember for the life of me what happened to my brother in his place, but I had a oscillating fan that just turned on its own and started going, back and forth all by itself. And my sister was in her dorm, and she had a sweater on the shelf. She said flew out. This is with one of her friends was there. Flew out on the floor and unfolded itself on the floor in front of them. And for the life of me, I can't remember what happened to my brother.
Yeah,
but it was all at the same day, right around the same time.
What? Same day, or right around the same time?
Right around the same time, a different part. I mean, she was way up Maine. My brother was in a different part of Maine, probably a few hours away, and I was in Florida.
That seems like the house sending you a message, man. Saying we ain't done with
Yeah,
this.
that's what that
come
seems
back.
like to me.
Like, especially the sweater unfolding itself. It's like, come on back.
Yeah, right.
Give us a hug.
Give us a hug. That's wild. That one's wild right there.
For sure.
That's all I gotta say about that. So anyways, I was gonna ask you another question that has to do with the story that you know what, I gotta start writing down my questions when they pop in my head. That's what I really gotta do. So did you have like any like terrifying experiences in that house or anywhere at all, like something that like really scared the shit out of you?
What about you, Ryan?
I spent a lot of time in that house, but I never experienced anything. But I was there for a half hour at a time, hour at a time. I don't think I ever spent the night. I was never in the basement, so I believe all their stories 100%. But I didn't experience anything there. So,
did you have any like really creepy, scary experiences at all?
Oh, absolutely. But yeah, no, probably nothing.
That you were like, fuck this shit.
Probably nothing that can. Nothing even hang with Scott's. I think he experienced more intense shit. But so I owned a house right up in your neck of the woods, Kevin. I think we discussed that. So I wasn't too far from where you are now. So the house was built in like '66. It's not a crazy old house by any stretch. So I moved in. I had been dating the same girl for years, so we lived there together. So it was at a time period where her car was in the shop. We worked different shifts, but her car was in the shop. So some days I was taking her in, or a coworker was picking her up, or what have you. So one day I come home, her car's not there. She shouldn't have been there. No big deal. So I go in the house. I'm alone. I'm downstairs doing some stuff. Our upstairs is big, but it's only 2 rooms. It's the master bedroom, and there was like a bonus room, like a second family room. We just called it the library because it had like built-in bookshelves all around the room. So we just referred to it as the library. So I was doing something in the kitchen, and I hear footsteps, distinct footsteps, go from the master bedroom into the library, closed one of the cabinets on one of the walls, and then the same footsteps go in. We had a single, like a really small bathroom upstairs. So I hear the footsteps go into the bathroom and close the door. And I'm not freaked out at all because I'm thinking, all right, she got home early. Somebody brought her home. So I yell something upstairs. I don't know what it was. Like, hey, I didn't know you were home. How'd your day go? I don't get an answer at all. So I didn't think too much about it. But like 2 minutes later, the front door opens up and I hear her coming in like, hey, babe, how was your day? And I'm like, what the fuck? So I come out with a really confused look on my face. And she's like, what's going on? So I go into the closet and grab the fucking baseball bat because I'm like, I don't explain it to her because I don't want to freak her out, but I'm thinking, who the fuck is upstairs if you're just now coming in the door? And I skipped it, but I should say when I was in the kitchen and the footsteps went back and forth, my dog was staring at the ceiling too. So it wasn't just me hearing it. And it wasn't like a creak, creak, creak. It was an older house where you could hear distinct boom, boom footsteps. I could have told you exactly where that person was at any given point. So I went upstairs and I searched the whole second floor, and of course the bathroom door is closed, like I knew it would be because I heard the person go in there. But there was nobody in the bathroom, there was nobody in the master bedroom, there was nobody in the library. But somebody had been, and it was freaky as shit. And I never really got into detail with her about what I had heard because why freak her out? But somebody was up there.
Yeah.
Are you going to tell them the history of that house?
Yeah, so I will. I got one more quick story about that. So I lived there for almost 10 years, and I only really have 2 stories. Like I said, that one's not crazy scary, but it's weird and it's unexplainable. So there was another time, maybe 6 months to a year later, not immediately following that. So I was in the shower in the downstairs bathroom. The upstairs bathroom was like one of those quarter ones that basically had a toilet and a sink. That was it, tiny. So I was in the shower in the downstairs bathroom. I had one of those ceiling fan light fixtures, and it was like a Bluetooth. So I had like the tunes rocking. You know, I like to party. So I was in the shower. And getting ready for work. She was not home.
My name's Rod. I like to party.
I like to get down a bit. So the dog was laying on the floor in the bathroom. She wasn't home. The front door was locked. While I'm in the shower, over the tunes, I clearly hear my name being yelled, which wasn't unusual. She'd come in and yell, Ryan, whatever she needs, you know. So I was like, I'm in the shower. I'll be right out. So over the next minute or two, distinctly, I hear my name 2 or 3 times, and each time it got a little more urgent. And I was like, what? Because at this point, we'd been dating long enough. I don't leave the door open. If she has something to say, she just barge right in. You know, it was kind of that kind of thing. I think if it's that important, just open the door. It's not locked. So I was like, what? No answer. Ryan, like a minute later, and then I'm kind of annoyed. I'm like, what the fuck? You know, the shower's kind of my zen time, so I get out, dry off real quick, and I walk into the kitchen. I'm like, what's so important? And there's nobody there. You know, I peek out the curtain. Her car's not there. So I'm like, what the fuck? So right then, my cell phone rings, and I pick it up, and it's her. And she's like, I'm at the grocery store. Do you need anything? So where we live, Shaw's is only like a half mile up the road, so I'm still not freaked out. I was like, why'd you make such a big deal out of it? You just waited 2 minutes. I would have gone up to the store with you. And she's like, what are you talking about? I just stopped in on my way home from work. I was like, fuck. So you weren't just in the house 2 minutes ago?
Yeah.
She's like, no, I haven't been home all day. It's like, okay,
God
then.
damn.
Yeah. So those are kind of my 2 stories. They're not real freaky, but they're definitely hard to explain. So when I first moved in, I have a super nice neighbor on one side. To my knowledge, he's still there, very friendly. Not going to name drop, but we'd shoot the shit all the time. So when I bought the house, he told me that somewhere he's been in that house for 30, 40 years. So at some point in like the late 70s, early 80s, there had been an in-ground pool at the house that had been filled in. To my knowledge, they just stopped using it, didn't want it. It was kind of an impediment, filled in with concrete and dirt. And you can sort of see the sag in my backyard where the pool had been. He didn't elaborate on it. I didn't ask, didn't really care. It was only after I sold the house and I was moving out, I was kind of like doing the last of my stuff, I got talking with him again, and he mentioned something to the effect of what a shame it was that girl drowned in the pool. And I was like, what the fuck are you talking about? And I don't know if he didn't tell me the first time because he didn't want to freak me out, or if he just forgot that he hadn't told me. But apparently the reason they filled that pool in was a girl, teenage, from best I can gather, was a teenage girl drowned in the pool. And they filled it in. So then I'm thinking, shit, maybe that's what I was hearing. Because it was definitely a female voice that was calling my name. Maybe the incidents are connected, maybe they weren't. I'm kind of glad I didn't know while I was living there. Because it probably would have gotten in my head a little bit.
Yeah, you would have experienced more stuff.
Yeah,
you
would have been looking for it. I think I would have been
Exactly.
looking for it. So
There's more validity to your story not knowing and finding out after the fact.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah, I was glad he hadn't told me.
So my dad lived in this apartment in Claremont, and it was the same kind of like basement that you were talking about, Scott, where it was just like rocks and then like some bricks and stuff, but it was a dirt floor. And my dad told us not to stay out of the basement, and it's not safe. And I'm not sure if it was just because he didn't want us in the basement for whatever reason, but my stepbrother tried telling me that there was a woman that was murdered and buried in the basement because it's a dirt, it was the dirt ground. And I was like, no, shut the fuck up. And still, I don't know if that was true or not. But we were all watching a movie one night, and out of the corner of my eye, I see that basement door open. And I like start to turn my head, and then all of a sudden my dad just like jumps out with a fucking mask on. And ever since then, I would never go to the fucking basement. I'm like, fuck that basement.
That basement was dead to you after that.
Yeah, exactly. But like those kind of basements scare the shit out of me. So
our
the fact that your dad was
terrifying.
like, hey, I'm gonna put one of my kids down here in a fucking room.
Yeah, so I'm telling you. They didn't care back then. Right into the basement with you.
Yeah.
Actually, I remember we got a dog, and the dog was, she was dirty. She pissed all over the house. And my dad decided, you know what? When we're not home, I'm going to put her in the basement to, So if she's going to piss, she's going to piss on the concrete floor or whatever. He put that dog in that room in the basement, and they went to work. The dog was probably down there for 4 or 5 hours, and it chewed through a drywall wall, made a hole through the wall, and then through drywall on the other side of the wall, and then up the stairs and chewed halfway through a hollow core door by the time they got home to try to get out of that basement. And that was a little Shih Tzu, those little ragdoll dogs.
Yeah.
And that dog was doing everything it could to get out of the basement. Destroyed a door.
Wow.
Yeah.
Holy shit.
Because after my
God
brother
damn.
left, after
there
he
was
moved
something
out,
definitely in that fucking basement.
Well, the absolute worst part is as you go down the stairs, under the stairs, there's a whole section of brick that was missing. It was like removed. That goes to like it went to the mudroom, the breezeway coming into the house. So it was this great big creepy ass hole under the stairs in brick. And that was the most terrifying, even if it wasn't haunted, that was the most terrifying thing in the world. You go down and that was under the stairs was this big hole in the
That's
wall.
where your brother was stashing his weed.
Yeah, he kept all the shit, all his porno.
Not a lot of people know this, but
where the
you
big
put
sack of
weed
left
in
shoes
there.
went.
Yeah, right.
Oh man, Ryan, you're freaking that story too with the calling your name and then you find out that your girlfriend's freaking hadn't even been home yet.
For
dude.
me,
That's
both of those
frickin-
stories were so normal. But then when you investigate a little bit, you're like, what the fuck?
Yeah. That's insane. That is insane. But yeah, that the I would probably attribute that to that being that girl, especially walking around and then going in the bathroom. Man, she was in that bathroom for a while, So that's definitely a teenage girl,
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, for sure. Getting the hair just right.
I set my daughter up with a mirror and all of her like accessories in her bedroom so she doesn't take up my frickin' bathroom when I'm just like, do your hair. Luckily she's not like crazy fancy yet anyway.
Yeah.
She's only 13.
Yeah.
So she just like brushes her hair and that's it. She doesn't even let me do anything with it anymore. She'd rather just wear it down and not do anything with it. But if she wants it done, she gets somebody else to do it. So
works out good for you, man.
just not me or her mother. As long as it's not me or her mother, she'll love it if they do her hair. And she used to like it when I did her hair, but that was a long time ago, and it breaks my heart that she doesn't let me do it anymore. But that's okay.
Oh yeah, it's the worst.
Not that I was great at it anyway, and I got irritated sometimes, but it was fun.
That's part of
I
that
used to
growing up
do my
process that
daughter's
makes you
hairs.
feel a little bit old, man. When they don't
When
do
my
the shit they
daughters
used to
were
do,
little.
you're like, fuck, man.
Yeah, I used to just pull it all up, put a big on the top of the head. They were quick to not let me do their hair.
I did that too. That was one of the hairdos.
That's the dad hairdo for sure. Just all that
Oh,
shit
yeah.
together. And
Oh, yeah.
Looks amazing.
yeah, looking
Yeah.
good. Oh, Dad did your hair this morning, huh?
I actually
socks
used to
don't
watch
match either.
YouTube
Cool.
videos. I used to watch YouTube videos to try and like figure out how to do little girls' hairs and stuff, and I would try all these different braids. And goddamn, man, I just something with my fingers and like the hair, it just never worked out. Like there was some things that I could do. I could do like buns and like ponytails. Sometimes I could do like a little kind of like braid and then do another freaking elastic or whatever, but that was pretty much it. But
You know, it's funny that you bring up that topic because I think it was just on Like Mother, Like Murder. The girls were just talking about there was like they did like the good, the bad, and badass or whatever.
Badass.
And it was one of the things. One of the things was that there was a lady who did classes to teach dads how to do their daughter's hair. It was just on their show. Yep.
Yeah, I listened to that episode. Yeah, I remember that. That was pretty cool. Man, I would rather just pay somebody to do my daughter's hair than actually do it. Well, I liked it because like it was kind of like it felt like a bonding moment.
Yeah.
But if I was to like send her to somewhere or whatever, I'd rather just pay somebody to like. I'd be like, I'll give you $20 to braid my daughter's hair real quick. You know,
You
something
like it
like
when
that.
you like it when they still need you. That kind of feeling
Yeah,
of being needed.
exactly.
But yes, yeah, exactly.
When they don't need you as much, it's you feel old or just it's a weird feeling as they get older. And they don't need the same stuff.
Yeah, it was just like the most recent thing that happened. The storms. You remember the storms not too long ago that we had like back to back. It was one of those one of the windstorms. So we had that fucking wicked wet heavy snow that fucking caused a shit ton of power damage, power outages. I never lost my power during that. But like 3 weeks later when we had 2 weeks later when we had the windstorms and stuff, I still didn't lose my power and all the trees came down and shit. Actually, I think trees came down both times in the snow and in the windstorm. And then it was just like kind of windy a couple nights after the big windstorm. And then my power went out. And it just like the transformers right out here outside the house. And it went boom and it lit up the entire house with the ball of fire. My daughter comes downstairs and she's like, it's like fucking 1:00 in the morning. And she goes, the power's out. And I go, yeah, I know. I was like, I sleep with my fan on. It's not on. She goes, I'm scared. And I go, well, you can come down here and, sleep in my bed with me if you want. And she goes, okay. And she went upstairs to get her blanket and her pillow. And she comes downstairs and she goes, I'm going to sleep on the couch instead. And I go, what? I was like, because the living room's right next to my bedroom, so I'm still right there. But the fact that she didn't want to get into bed with me, fucking hurt my heart a little bit. So
you pretend like you don't care and you roll over and you try and
yeah, exactly.
No, it's fine.
Go,
really.
you go. I don't need you anyway.
What if I was scared?
You're not the only one scared of me.
Protect me.
You know when the power goes out, it is dead quiet. Every little bit of noise in your house you don't even realize is there is gone, and it's something about it that's unnerving.
Yeah.
It's
is.
Just like the hum of the fan or like the furnace is running or something and it's in the background and you don't realize it's there. And then when the power goes out and it's gone, you're like, what the fuck is wrong? And it'll wake you up.
You're walking around like an idiot hitting light switches. That's what I do.
Yeah.
I got to run down and get a flashlight, hit the light switch.
Yeah.
Why is everything off?
Yeah.
Let's try the next room.
So when the power comes on, everything in my house is on because I flipped every fucking switch imaginable.
Yeah. I do the same every time.
Oh, shit.
On the trail to the power box has just got switches on everything.
Switches you didn't even have, you turn it on. You know what? I need a switch right here. Power comes back on. I'm putting boxes everywhere.
Oh, shit. So, one question that I like to ask everybody, because sometimes it slips people's minds, but have you guys ever had an experience that you can attribute to being a cryptid, possibly?
Yeah.
Ryan has an awesome one.
Me and Scott were just talking about this today. So, maybe in like the late 80s, I don't remember, Scott, you would know. His father bought like a camp up on, it's Graham Lake, so it's kind of northern Maine. It's near Bangor.
Yep.
A couple years later, my parents bought a camp up there. They both bought a plot of land and built a camp. So we basically been going up there since we were little.
I will say that's a fucking nice lake.
So you're familiar with Graham Lake?
Yeah.
It is a very nice lake. It's a stumpy lake. So it's man-made.
Right.
They dammed a river and they flooded it, so you can't go like speedboating on there. But for
not a lot of
fishing and
people
stuff like that, it's amazing. It's quiet, very quiet. So at the end of to get down to where our parents' camps were, it's a dirt road, like they all are in Maine. You know, like the lake roads, they kind of dirt road, potholes, split off in multiple directions. So when you finally make your way back to the main road, if you can call it that, about 2.5, 3 miles down, there is a humongous blueberry field, and it goes way back. I'm talking like square mile at least, but they're like the really low blueberry bushes, so you can see through the whole field. There's a lot of rocks, like probably go back to like volcanic age, but otherwise it's a wide open field. So when I was in my high school, college days, I was up there. I'd go up for a week every year with my friends. So one night we were out in, I think like Ellsworth, it's the nearest town. We were probably like at the bar. So we come back, it's like 2 a.m. So we're passing by that blueberry field, about to hit the dirt road to go back towards the camp. And there's just enough moonlight where we could see towards the back of that field. And there's something huge rummaging around in the back of the field. It's blueberry field, and it's not unusual to see a bear in that field. They love the blueberries. It was about that time of year, so that's what we were all thinking. The field is big enough where he pulled over, the guy who was driving the truck pulls over the truck. We all pile out. We got like several hundred yards between us and the bear. Just enough moonlight, we're watching him way back against the tree line, kind of feeding on the blueberry bushes and whatnot. And all of a sudden, he stands up, 2 legs, and does a dead, like Olympic sprint towards us. And it's not like any bear would ever fucking run. So it went from totally a big bear, but a bear, into a full sprint towards us. Not a clumsy bear sprint, but a fucking sprint. And all 4 of us like, what the fuck? We pile back in the truck and tore ass out of there. So he closed probably half the distance between the tree line and the truck. But it was just a dark enough night where I still can't tell you what I was looking at. But I can tell you, it sure wasn't a bear. It was a humongous creature with lightning speed. All you could really see with the moonlight was the silhouette. But bears don't run like that. They stumble around on their back legs, a little bit.
Yeah, they can't sprint on their 2 legs. They
that
can
was
walk.
They
can't sprint.
That was faster than in my prime I could run, for sure. So it was a sprint. I don't know what I was looking at. To this day, I still think about that when I'm up there. It doesn't scare me per se, but when I'm hanging out with my son fishing and shit, it's only 3 miles from where that was. I'm thinking, what the fuck was I looking at that night, and is it still here?
Yeah, a lot of that area around that is fairly remote.
It's
too,
very
if
remote.
I recall
it's
correctly.
Very remote.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
So you're about 10 miles from Ellsworth. I always tell people the camp is in Ellsworth because that's the closest town anybody would know. But it's really not that close to Ellsworth. It's actually Mariahville, which is like a population 200 kind of town.
Mariahville or Otis.
Nicest folks you'll ever meet. Just that there's nobody there. But yeah, it's very, very remote.
Yeah. Could you see a snout?
No, it's still red bear, like the outline of a bear. I never saw the face, and I don't think I ever saw it in profile. So you saw it kind of like you'd see the shadow of a bear from the side, lumbering along the trees, and then all of a sudden it was standing up and running towards us. So it's still red like the outline of a big ass bear, but not running that way.
That could be your description of a dog man or something like that.
And
that's why
I didn't see any lit eyes or anything along that aspect, like no glowing eyes, no dark eyes, but it wasn't a bear, It's a good question. I wish I had a better answer. I never saw the sideline profile of the face.
Yeah. All right. That's interesting. Because that could be a couple different things, especially here in Maine. Because you got the bildad, which is pretty big from what I know of, but I don't know if it's that big. But then I would say probably Sasquatch or a dogman of some kind if it were to be a cryptid and not a bear. Well, it's definitely not a bear. If
no,
it's
it wasn't
sprinting
a bear,
on two
I'm going to
legs,
guess, having never seen it up close, I'm going to guess at 7.5 feet, 500 pounds on the small side weight-wise. On small side weight-wise. It's hard to judge from 500 yards or whatever it is away. It was still it was far but close. Close enough where I could make out the outline. But like with a police ID, you don't give honest IDs with the police from that distance. It's just too far. I could just tell you it was big and it was moving fucking fast.
Yeah, bears in Maine aren't that big.
No,
even when they stand up.
Usually a few hundred pounds.
And they're not going to run after you unless you're physically fucking with it.
And there was 4 of us, and we were loud. We weren't being quiet. We weren't trying to be stealthy. We weren't trying to attract it. Coming back from the bar, hooting and hollering, like, "Oh my God, there's a big ass bear back there!" So it did
Black
not
bear
know
would've
we were
definitely
there.
ran away.
It knew we were there.
Yeah. Huh. I'm gonna go with fucking Dogman. That's what I'm gonna go with. Just
I'm familiar with Dogman, but I don't know exactly what it is. What can you give us a quick description on Dogman?
So Dogman is basically what the name pretty much entails. It's a dog-looking creature with human attributes. So it's 6 to 7 feet tall, hairy, looks like a big gas bear when it's on all fours, but it runs very fast. It can keep up with cars going freaking 60 miles per hour or more. Very strong. Usually, it's so basically it's a human body covered in fur, and then it has a dog head, essentially like a werewolf.
Yeah,
you know.
I got you.
And so there's so many like stories of attacks and stuff, and I don't know if you're familiar with what the hell's his name? Martin Groves. Martin Groves, I believe is his name.
Name sounds familiar.
He was a cop in Tennessee, and him and his partner did a camping trip in the LBL, and they came across Bigfoot and Dogman, and they were being like basically stalked, and this Dogman creature came to his camp and came just on the cusp of the light of the fire, and he ended up taking shots at it. Like it came just enough into the light of the fire where he could tell what it was.
Yeah.
He could see the face, he could see the teeth, he could see the freaking the drool dripping off of its mouth. And they took shots at it, and they freaking hightailed it out of there right after, not looking back. And he I've heard him tell the story, and he cries every time he's told the story. So I don't know. I mean, if you're making a story up, you're not gonna freaking cry every single time you freaking tell the story if you're making it up. You know what I mean?
No, for sure.
No, exactly.
But that's what
I know when I tell some of my stories, my hair on my arms will stand up. You just thinking back to it, you get that reaction. It doesn't go away.
No, it doesn't. But yeah, I feel like that's what I would, because there's a lot of sightings of Dogman here in Maine.
I was unaware of that until you told us your story about the Dogman.
Yeah.
So yeah, I didn't. I know very little about that Dogman. I'm gonna have to look into it.
Neither do I. But now that he's explained it, I would say that's probably the closest thing that I've heard or read to what I saw.
Yeah.
Little I saw.
It's not a real.
I saw enough to know I couldn't explain it.
Because when you first were telling it, like I was thinking, like, I mean that was my first thought really, but I was like, well, maybe Bigfoot. But if it was Bigfoot, he would have walked away. He wouldn't have ran at you. He would have left.
No, yeah. It was a dead 180. It was like 100% just a big lumbering bear on the tree line, just stood upright and bolting at us in the blink of an eye, and all of us were like, what the fuck? So you go from 100% positive, you know what you're looking at, to I don't know what we're looking at, let's get the fuck out of here. So I'm glad I wasn't the only one there, because I'll freely admit we were coming from the bar. I wasn't trashed, but I'd had a couple. 2 of the guys had a couple of drinks. 2 of the guys had not. We all saw the same thing, and to this day, we still chit-chat about it. Do you remember that night? I'm like, of course I remember that fucking night. I remember it vividly. I mean, it's scary, but I'm glad we all remember that same thing, because you can start to question yourself. Even on stuff you were stone cold sober or whatever, you can, enough time goes by, and you're like, did that really happen, or am I just being a weirdo, You can convince yourself, but no, I wasn't convinced myself of anything that night. I saw what I saw, and the other guy saw the same thing.
Well, first of all, I will.
It's easy to question yourself because you can't explain it.
Right.
And when you can't explain it, you're like, okay, I didn't see that. I'm just being a weirdo. It was a bear. It was a really fast Usain Bolt bear. Trying out for the Olympics. It was a special bear, but it was a bear.
It's okay to be a weirdo. That's all. That's the one thing that I'm gonna say. But yeah, no, that's what I think of. But and this is from your story. This is what I'm picturing: is you guys are all yelling, and then it's fucking running at you, and then you're just like, oh shit, and then one of your hats fall off, and you're jumping into the bed of a truck and taking off and stuff, and then you're like, oh my hat, and then everybody's like, oh leave the hat.
And it's probably a dog man still wearing a hat. Right?
Yeah, right.
Smelling it. He's still making his way down south going, I haven't found it yet. He's nearby, though.
Maybe that's why I saw mine.
Sounds like Budweiser.
Because they were...
Yeah, maybe he made his way into the house in Sanford and called up my name when I was in the shower. Dog man has a sexy voice.
Damn.
Ryan, I got your hat.
That's a sexy voice? Shit.
Oh, no, not me. Not
I was
going to
do the old lady voice, but I can't do it like Ryan.
Ryan, come on out of the shower. Get your hat, dear. I made apple
fucking
crisp.
dog man.
Man,
I ain't falling for that shit, dog man.
Is that you, babe, or is it fucking dog man again? We're not playing this game tonight.
The weirdest role playing goes on at Ryan's house.
It's Maine, man. Where the weird ones are.
Yes. Yeah. Not everybody can wear a zipper. Oh man. But yeah, that's what I think. I definitely think it was. That would have been a dog man. But
I'm gonna look more into that. Definitely gonna look into that.
Scott, what about you?
For cryptids, I have a story where I was lived in a town just outside of Omaha, Nebraska, just south of it, and we were out in the country, and I moved out there because I was looking for a place more like Maine, so I moved into an area that actually has some trees and stuff, because most of it's just open cornfield and shit. And I used to drive the back roads to get home and everything. So me, my wife, and my son, who was a teenager, he was probably 15, 16 years old, and we're driving down one of these dirt roads, and there's a soybean field off to the right. And the back of the soybean field is trees, because there's like a gully back there. You know, where the water would run through, there would be really deep gullies and trees all around. Now, that's the only place where the trees would grow. But there's a really thick grove of trees back there. And it went on for probably a few miles. But it was between fields. And we were driving by, and we look into the field, and it's, you know, the distance from the field to the trees and the gully it's quite a ways. But we see something standing at the edge of that gully. It looks enormous, and it's really tall, at least that's what we think, and it's got white hair, white shaggy hair. And we're like, what the fuck is that? My son, I'm like, I saw it first, and I'm like, what is that? And my son is like, I don't know what that is. Pull over. I'm like, shit, man, I don't know how to pull over. This looked like an abominable snowman sitting way back in the middle of this field. And then it dipped right down into that gully. It went right into the woods and down that gully. So we pull over, and I'm like, I got to find out what this is, man. That thing, it looked enormous. So we went, there was like a farm right down a little bit further where their driveway went. And so we walked all the way. We're trying to catch up with the direction that it was going, and we walk up that driveway, and something white comes flying out of the woods right there. And it was just a big fucking sheepdog, man. It looked... It wasn't nearly the size that we thought it was.
You fucking got me.
I tell Ryan this all the time. People fuck up the size of things. They think everything is bigger than it actually is. If they see a sea monster or something, they think it's 20 feet. They'll say it was 80 feet long. I'd have swore this thing was 7 feet tall. It wasn't more than 3. Sitting on its ass, it couldn't maybe 3.5.
That's how Scott found his wife, because she drastically misjudges the size of things.
Everything. It had to be 8-9 inches. Nope.
Oh shit.
They don't know.
I find his credibility shot on all things. Though,
Yeah,
when a
it
fucking
is.
sheepdog is a 14 foot.
Oh, I would have swore to God that was a fucking Yeti
Oh
out there,
my
man.
God.
He had
That's
wings.
where I thought
it.
you were going, and then you're like, "Oh, it was a sheepdog." I was like, "Yeah, dude."
That's where we were in our heads, and it was all three of us thought, "What the fuck is that?" Because of the way it was sitting in that background. And it goes to show you a lot of misidentification that happens for real, because it looked huge. It looked just gigantic. And then when we actually got up to it, it was a good-sized sheepdog. It was not a Yeti.
Hi, my name is Joe, and I'm the host of Tales, Trails, and Taverns. In this show, Rob and I like to take an active approach by hiking out to haunted, creepy, and abandoned places. We love the adventure and discovering the dark history of the locations we visit. We release a new episode every Friday on Apple, Spotify, and Patreon, as well as bonus episodes on varying Tuesdays. But don't just take my word for it, we have great listeners who have left some awesome reviews.
I love adventure, but during those times when I can't get to the outback, I like to listen to Tales, Trails, and Taverns. Those boys dig deep into the dark history, and their first-hand experiences really delivers the excitement. This podcast is a beaut.
Back when I was the governor, I didn't have time to listen to podcasts. But now that I'm retired from politics, I can focus on my two passions, pumping iron and listening to Tales, Trails, and Taverns.
It doesn't matter who we are. What matters is that we all listen to Tales, Trails, and Taverns.
I love listening to the podcast. Wait, what's a podcast again?
It's an audio show you listen to.
Oh, like on the radio?
Sort of, yeah.
Okay. I love listening to Tulips and Tiddlywinks.
It's Tales, Trails, and Taverns.
And what do you do again?
Hike to scary places and drink beer.
Sounds terrifying. Okay. I like to listen to Terrifying Tea Time, but not on the radio.
Okay, thank you. You did great.
You're welcome. Say, you're kind of cute. Is there a Mrs. Tales, Trails, and Taverns?
Now you get it?
No actual celebrities or political figures have endorsed Tales, Trails, and Taverns. All the reviews you've heard were written, poorly, by the host, George Lennox, as well as the impersonations of celebrities, politicians, and movie characters. I meant no harm. Please don't sue me.
It'd have been a little out of place in Nebraska anyways. But
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a sheepdog.
God damn. Man.
Other than that, no cryptids. A lot of spirit stuff, but no cryptids that I can think of. As soon as we get off here, I'll remember something.
Probably. That's how it happens. There's a section of things that I experience that I don't like to talk about because I feel like it's gonna call things. So I think I've kind of like brisked over it on another podcast because when I emailed him about my experiences, I ended up telling him a little bit about that, and then so when I was on his podcast, he asked me about it, and I was like, "Fucking hey, I forgot I wrote that." Because it was like almost a year later after I gave him an email was when I was on his show, because his show is pretty big. Like he has people freaking asking to be on his show like constantly. But yeah, forget where the fuck I was going with that. But I will ask you this, because I always like to ask everybody this question as well. Have you ever had an experience that you can attribute to UFO or alien at all?
I cannot. No.
When I was a kid, I remember seeing it, but I was really young, and it was over Ryan's house. My brother remembers it a lot better. My parents and his parents remember it better.
This may be the same story my mother told. I haven't experienced one, but my mother did. And I think this might be the same one Scott's telling.
Well, yeah, I think your mom had just come home. I know she pulled into the driveway or something, and we were there already at your house, and there was something hovering somewhere above your house. It was up there a ways, because I remember that the adults were talking about it, and they were outside just staring at something in the sky. And this is right off of Route 4. And I remember it specifically and then pointing to it, but I was too little to realize what it really was. You know what I mean? I know they're talking about, look, there's a UFO or a flying saucer or something along those lines. but it didn't resonate with me what that really was. You know, but I remember the day, and I remember the big deal that they were making out of it. So
yeah, my might be the same time. I don't know. I don't even know if I was born yet. I've got a brother who's about 14 months older than me. My mother said she was driving with him as a baby, so I must have not been there yet. But she was coming back from grocery shopping, and they were going towards the house they live in with the same one Scott's talking about. So this may not be the same incident. But she said they were coming home. They were only a mile or two from the house, and something bright dropped down from the sky, like real low. Stopped her basically in her tracks. And my mother is not like a firm believer in all that shit. She'd be horrified if she even knew I was telling the story. So I'm probably gonna.
You can tell her I started it.
I'm not gonna get invited to Thanksgiving this year.
That's all right. It's at my house.
She doesn't listen to any of our shit anyway, so we'll be fine. If I get uninvited, I'm like, you fucking listened. I knew it. So so yeah, she said. So my mom is one of those people I believe in fully because she doesn't stray off the beaten path.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like what I see is what I believe.
She's
so
a
she
real
said,
one.
you know, it was basically a craft. It looked like initially like an airplane, and it dropped down really low, like a couple 100 feet over the road. And it was so bright she had to pull over, and it freaked her the fuck out. She basically doesn't talk about it much to this day, other than to say something really weird happened that night. But my dad, who was at home that night, didn't see anything. But he worked in town here with a bunch of guys for years, and he says there's a good 6 or 7 of them that saw something exactly the same that same night. I don't remember the date of it. But he said, you know, talk to this guy. I didn't see anything. I was in the house. But so yeah, my mother's story is backed up by quite a few other people.
Nice. That's it.
I wish I couldn't give you a first-hand account. I wasn't there. I'm just kind of relaying it best I can. But you know, if that many people see it, it gains credibility for sure.
I did see something similar to what. Actually, I was on Graham Lake, the same lake where you had your thing at with a friend of mine, and we were floating in a boat drinking beer just at the middle of the night. And I did see something that looked like we were just kicking back, drinking some beers, and you see something go across the sky. And it could have been a satellite or something like that. It looked like a star.
I think that's what it is. Up there, it's a satellite, I think.
But no, this thing, we were watching it, and then all of a sudden, it stopped and shot off. But it was really high in the sky, so it looked just like a small star. But it literally stopped and switched directions and took off and was gone. But I mean, it wasn't like anything extraordinary. Like it looked like a tiny ass star in the sky. But it literally was traveling across the sky where, like, that could be a plane. But then it literally just stopped and did, like, a 45-degree angle, gone. That's the only thing I can ever think of.
When I'm up there, I love doing night gazing because you're so far removed from everything. There's no light pollution. It's dead dark up there. So
you see everything.
Same thing Scott's describing. A couple of times I've seen small lights that seem like they're doing weird stuff, but they're so far up there you can't tell. But it's stuff you never would have seen down here in southern Maine because there's just too much light. You can see the whole sky. So if there is a place you're going to see a UFO, it would be there for sure.
That's interesting. Crazy stuff. So have you guys ever had like an experience like that was positive that may have helped you out at all? Like you maybe like angelical or godlike kind of like thing, something like that.
I have a story, but I feel like a fruit. I feel like a fruit telling it.
Well, you are a fruitcake already. But...
So just tell it.
I feel like one telling it. It was just really weird. It was right before I joined the military, and I don't know if I just told Ryan this story or not. It was just a really weird kind of. I had signed up to join the military, and to be honest, I did not want to join the military. I got in trouble, and kind of came down to. Either I joined the military or I go to jail for a little while. And I was signed up to go anyways, and so I was really nervous about joining, and I was scared. I was trying to think to myself how the hell I could get out of it. How can I bail? I just wanted to stay and party, and I was getting in all kinds of trouble. And I remember it was getting real close before I was supposed to leave. I'm 17 years old when I joined, and I was decided I was going to go for a walk behind the house for no particular reason. And as I'm walking, I had like a feeling come over me that was like, I don't even know how to describe it. It was such a warm, and like you say, like an angelic type feeling.
Yeah.
Like it was like, I just felt like almost like what a drug would do to you. It was almost a high. And it was just like, I imagine if I was a religious person, I would say it was like if someone describes what the Holy Spirit comes over you kind of thing. And that's what it felt like. And I remember, this is the part where I felt fruity. I remember it just felt amazing. I remember running through the field and jumping in the air like a fruitcake. But I was literally fucking overcome with like, it was like pure fucking ecstasy. It was like I was high off my ass with just, it was like endorphins fucking, and yeah, Scott was floating like a butterfly, not stinging like a bee. But it just came over me, and it lasted. And the only thing I remember is thinking the whole time, how do I make this feeling last? I don't want it to go away. I don't want this feeling to ever go away. It feels fucking amazing. And it was like, I guess it was just like pure endorphins, pure adrenaline type thing. And it was like that. And also I wasn't afraid to leave anymore. It was just like everything was going to be cool. It was like something was telling me, you're fine, you're doing the right thing, this is the path you're supposed to go on. That's how I look at it. I'm not a religious dude at all, but that shit happened. And yeah, I was just like a fairy in the backyard.
Frolicking through the meadow.
Frolicking like a little bitch. Thank God no one saw me that day.
Maybe somebody did. You know.
Now I just told how many people?
Yeah.
Somebody took a video of it.
I'm gonna go back through South Berwick and scour the video.
Oh my God, that's funny.
Anybody in your backyard frolicking like a bitch in the last 20 years, whatever, over the years, we want it. Send it in.
Flapping my arms like a butterfly.
What year did you join the Army?
It was in 91, 92.
Okay. I was just curious. There was a missing woman from South Berwick. I wasn't sure if you went to school with her, but I think she was only 24.
What was
I
her
can't
name?
remember. It was 2001, right after 9/11.
Oh no, I was gone.
So I think she was like 24, so that would have been, if you were 17 in 92, she would have been graduating high school in like 98.
I don't know of anyone that I knew that went missing.
Yeah.
No, I remember a girl from South Berwick went missing around that time period. They found her, I don't know if we're talking about the same one. There was one from the show Disappeared. The national show disappeared around that time period, and somebody in Portland had actually abducted her and murdered her.
Yes. Yeah, that's the one I'm talking about.
Yeah,
I just heard that.
There was also a child that was dumped.
I was familiar with her, and I used to hang out in Portland around that same time period. So when they were running her story, I was like, "Fuck, did I see that girl?" No, I didn't. I didn't run with the same crew, but I was in Portland at that time period. It's scary when that stuff goes on, and it was just like that. She went up to Portland.
Yep.
That was it.
Yep. She was with somebody, but he was kind of like a stick in the mud, so she wanted to have fun and left with somebody she's never met before and asked him to bring her back, and he was upset about bringing her back, so he killed her instead.
And all eyes went to that guy that was out of town. The first guy made sense as the
because he was from Florida.
But he wasn't it. He was like an out-of-towner, came up to visit her. They went to Portland together. She left with another guy. He drove back to South Berwick by himself. She never came home, and the police were like, yeah, okay, that makes sense, but he was being honest.
Yeah. I was like, that was a whole fishy story. And then, like, the whole time, like...
it was very... If I was a cop, I wouldn't have believed his story, but he was telling the truth.
The whole time I was listening to that story, I was like, I wonder if Scott and Ryan knew this lady.
Yeah. I know
If
about
I
it
knew
just,
the name,
just
I
from
might.
the press. I actually don't.
I mean,
I
I
would
knew
know
all
the
the
name
families.
I would know the name if he said it, but I can't remember the
frickin'
head.
name
But yeah,
either.
I remember her going missing from South Berwick, and I remember I hung out in Portland on a regular basis during that time period. But when they showed her picture, she didn't look familiar to me, nor did the guy who ended up being guilty look familiar to me. They weren't people There's like 20 bars in the old port. You're not going to stumble across everybody
True.
every night.
That's 100% true. You know, and I don't know. I just,
Yeah, I'm not familiar. I was gone at the time, so I'm not even familiar with the story. Is it a good possibility I may have known him or known of the family?
No, she was way
yeah, I
younger
think
than
she
you.
was like
She was younger than
25
me.
in 2001. So
Yeah, the family may have been somebody I knew, but no, I didn't know her.
hold on, let me just look it up real quick.
My dog's barking at the door, but I'll be gone for like
How
2 minutes.
dare
I'll be right back. Sorry. Edit me out.
Let's see. Oh yes, Amy Saint Laurent.
St. Lawrence?
Saint Laurent. Amy Elizabeth.
St. Laurent, no. I knew St. Lawrence's, but I didn't know it was St. Laurent.
Yeah, the guy buried her in Scarborough. Yeah, I freaking.
Yeah, I remember a few cases from back in the day in the area. There was a right in South Berwick. There was a young child that body was dumped in the by the mills in South Berwick, and it was a murder or something that happened in Massachusetts. But he brought the body up here to dispose of it. I remember that.
That's crazy.
Because someone I knew was one of the divers that had to go looking for in the river or whatever.
That's terrible. There was this kid I went to high school with ended up raping a girl on the trail right next to the Sanford High. Well, it's the Sanford Middle School now, but you know the trails that go from the high school to the YMCA. He like, and I'm pretty sure she might have. I'm pretty sure she was underage too, and this kid was my age. So at the time, I was 23, 24-ish maybe, and he attacked a young girl, and like he was somebody that you would have never ever thought that he'd do something like that, and he did it on the trail.
You know, that area that you're talking about is sketchy area. Those trails that run through there, people walk those trails all the time, and there's some sketchy people on those trails.
They kind of like niced him up though in recent years. The last time I ever walked them, they were kind of creepy, but now they're paved and they have lights and stuff like that. It's pretty cool. But so after you left that haunted house that you grew up in, did you go anywhere else where that was kind of like haunted after that?
Yeah, definitely. Well, I I joined the military, and nothing happened in that stretch of my life when I was in the military. I was in for 7, 8 years, and not much of anything happened the entire time that I was in the military. But after that, I went to school and I became a respiratory therapist, and I started working in hospital. And like I said, I'm more open to stuff, and then going into a big hospital where people die on the regular really changed things for me. It was probably the more stuff happened to me in the hospitals than ever happened to me at home or before. And so much different stuff happened. I went from a bigger hospital where there was a lot of different things that would happen on different floors to a smaller hospital where our office was in it used to be an adult psych unit, and then they turned it into the respiratory therapy department, of course. And that place was crazy haunted. So yeah, I had a lot of experiences after, more so than I did before.
Wow. Did you have anything call your name when you did in those hospitals?
Yeah, you just actually reminded me of. Yeah, actually, one of the first things that happened to me in one of the hospitals, I was on. It was just a general med floor, med surge type floor, and it was 5 North. It was one of the hospitals I worked in, and a lot of the rooms were empty at the time, but I would walk around that, and I kept hearing my name. I kept hearing, Scott, Scott, and I'm like, someone's fucking with me. It's none of these other therapists or something. Because when you were done, you know, they'd come around and ask if you need any help or anything like that. And so I thought one of my buddies was fucking with me. So I was looking in all the rooms to see where he was hiding because I kept hearing my name. And then I was sitting at the nurse's station. I was kind of shook because I heard it a couple different times. And one of the nurses was like, what's the matter with you? I'm like, I could swear I keep hearing someone say my name. And she's like, in that back hall? And I'm like, yeah. She goes, I hear my name there almost every night. She says, someone says my name and there's no one back there. So it wasn't, but a few days later, I had a patient in one of the rooms in that back area. And this was an old lady that liked to call for breathing treatments. She always thought that she had anxiety. She always thought that she couldn't breathe. So we would actually have to write on her board the time that she had her breathing treatment and say, you can't have another breathing treatment until this time, you know? So she wasn't calling every 15 minutes. So I went in the room. I had latex gloves on at the time. And it's a big room. It was a double room, but they had changed it to a single room. So this is a really big room, and she's a long ways away from me. And I was standing at a white dry erase board, and I had those latex gloves on, and I'm writing the time on the dry erase board, and I could feel her hand slide over those gloves like she's holding my hand. And I look like, what the hell is she doing out of bed? Because I feel the rubber gloves were actually moving as like friction was catching them as my hand was hanging down. And I looked, and she's still in bed. And I remember she saw the look on my face, and she's like, what's the matter, honey? I can't do Ryan's old lady voice. What's the matter, honey?
Scott?
Yes?
What's wrong, sweetie?
But she saw the look on my face, and it was just panic. And it just scared the piss out of me because I felt the hand slide right into my hand, and there was nobody else in that room. She was a good 10, 12 feet away from me at the time.
Did you run?
So, and that happened in the back hallway at the first hospital I was at.
Did you run after that?
So
what do you think that was? Like, honest question though. So you think that old lady could like leave her body, or?
No, I think because it didn't just happen when she was there.
She's sitting there in the hospital, so you think she could like split herself off, or was it like totally separate entity? I don't mean to put you on the spot. I'm just curious.
No, I think it's a total separate entity. Because it happened when she was there, when she wasn't there. She just happened to be in one of those rooms where I heard a lot of stuff. That hospital had a lot of different. I think every hospital does. That one had a lot of different stuff going on. Each floor had a little.
That movement
different.
just kind of happened to coincide with her asking for a breathing.
I don't think it had anything to do.
It wasn't
with
connected.
Okay. No, but I mean, I saw a lot of people die right there on that floor. I saw someone die in the same room that she was in. We had like a patient that he literally decided he was on so much oxygen. He had interstitial lung disease, and he was like, he decided that he was done, and he was on so much oxygen. He's like, for the last time, he didn't want to piss in a urinal. He wanted to get up and go to the bathroom, so he just stood up. He took off his oxygen. He walked to the bathroom, and he took a piss. And we walked into the room, and I remember John, the guy I was with, told him, what are you doing? You're not supposed to be off your oxygen. He goes, yeah, I know. Fuck it. And then he just fucking right over backwards into John's arm and died right there on the spot. And, I mean, we coded him. We did everything, but he was gone.
Good
and that
for
was
him,
in that
going
same
out on his
room.
own-
With
going
his
out on
own
his
terms, yeah.
That's how I would want to go. Yeah. Fuck the oxygen.
And I mean,
Piss for
there
yourself
was
one last time.
some dignity in it for sure.
Yeah.
But yeah, that same hospital, there was, I told the story on one of the fire pits on our podcast, and it was further down. No, was it the same floor? No, it was a couple floors below it. This didn't happen to me, but I witnessed this. There was one of the nurses I was with, she's like, come here, I want to tell you a story. And I'm like, yeah. She goes, my patient in whatever room, 5, whatever, she said, he's tripping balls tonight. And I'm like, oh, yeah? And she goes, he swears he saw a little girl come into the room, walk around by the end of his bed, and then walk back out of the room. But he said behind her, she had a trail of, like, red dust. Oh, there goes my headphone. Had, like, a trail of red dust trailing behind her as she went through. And I'm like, really? And she's like, yeah, he swears he saw her. And so we went downstairs. We went outside because she was a smoker. So I went down with her to have a cigarette. And, yeah, I'm a respiratory therapist. And
lead by example,
when
baby. Yeah.
when we were downstairs, there was some nurse assistants, some aides. They were outside of the building, and they were talking when we walked up, and they're telling a story. And they're on a different floor. It's on the same floor, sorry, but it's way further away from where we were at. And that girl is telling a story about how her patient saw a little girl come into his room with red dust trailing behind her. Not the same patient, another patient in the hospital at the same time on a different section of the hospital saw the same
Holy
exact
shit.
little girl. Yeah, so that one's a trip. I didn't witness it, but I witnessed them talking about it. Neither one of them knew that the other one had the same story.
That's hard to
Yeah,
explain
that's
for
fucking.
sure.
That's wild too.
It's like some Stephen King shit.
Yeah.
I know. I don't get the red dust. What is
Yeah,
that?
I don't-
mean,
Well, he wrote
I've
a
never
book,
heard of that
Insomnia,
power.
where like certain different souls had like stuff like projecting from their head. So it's almost like that, except it's coming from behind.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's the same general idea. I
yeah,
guess.
they said they
I
described it
don't
as
know.
a trail of red dust. Red.
Yeah, that's
I
weird.
don't know.
I don't know what that. I don't think I've ever heard a story that's similar to
No,
that.
me neither.
Yeah.
I mean,
Strange.
I've heard a lot of stories at this point.
I bet.
Excuse me. So what do you guys have planned next for the future of the podcast?
Scott?
Oh, me? Well, we
Yeah,
are
yeah.
going to do we mentioned before that we had gone to Riceville. It was a ghost town. We're looking for another place to go investigate and do our podcast live from. So
We get a couple ideas, but we're trying to look
we
for
haven't locked it
permission.
down yet.
Back in the day, we would have just gone anywhere, anytime, and just hope the cops don't show up. But you can't do that anymore. Kids,
Especially if
and
you
whatnot,
want to
and
do a
not only that,
podcast while you're there.
Yeah, you can't do an episode from it. I'm not going to look over my shoulder the whole night. So we want a place that we can go set up for the night, be good, not have to look over our shoulders. My brother likes to go. His brother likes to go. So there'll probably most likely be four of us, which we like better. More production value, more guys to haul gear, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah. But no, we're
So
looking for a new
that's kind
spot.
of the plan. We're looking all over New England. We got a couple ideas, but if you have any, or if any of your listeners have any, we would definitely love to hear anything. Probably we're willing to expand in the future, but at this point, we're probably looking at like maybe 150-mile radius of where we're at right now, so to speak. So a decent-sized radius. Probably covers New England. So to speak.
We're looking to do a couple of those a year on the
Yeah.
podcast, and like I said, we want to go somewhere haunted, do an investigation, but also we'll give the history and shoot the whole podcast on site.
Huckamuck Swamp.
So that's what we did. That's kind of how we did it with the first one. It was kind of our test run. You know, we need to do things a little different the next time, but that's one of the things we want to do with the podcast, and we just want to keep growing. You know, we've had some good growth, and we're just trying to keep.
Yeah,
that
you
going.
guys are.
We met a ton of other podcasters like yourself that do an amazing job that we've had fun with. We've had a blast meeting people. We had a blast having you on. We've had a blast being here tonight. Thank you for having us on.
Yeah. I'd love to have you guys on whenever you guys want. But I wanted to say that I do want to. I would like to be on yours again. I have a couple stories. Some things to get into, some conspiracy stuff and some like just odd things. If you guys are into
absolutely.
Absolutely.
Yeah, definitely. We can set something up
Okay.
for sure. I've got a few ideas.
All right.
So
And we had a
then
blast when you came on.
It
That
was.
a
I had a
great
lot of
time
yeah,
having
and
you in
maybe
the
we can
studio.
get. Yeah, Ryan's got a brother that wants to do a few things. Maybe we can get a round table going and just tell some stories or something.
Yeah,
We
that'd
can
be a
definitely
blast.
do
Let's
something.
get just an open mic night,
Yeah.
kind of like 4 or 5 of us.
Yeah. Yeah, go
Conspiracy
on and
open
just,
mic night or something like that. Yeah, that'd be
Yeah,
good.
any
That'd be
topic
good.
you
Be
want
a
to
trial
talk
run
about.
for everybody. Yeah,
Yeah, maybe we go live that night or something.
Yeah, that'd be cool too.
that'd be great.
Yeah.
Kind of, we can hook in both our
Go
audiences.
live and then
That'd be
do an
awesome.
episode all
Yeah.
run all at once.
That'd be
That'd be
great.
awesome.
So
Yep, and if we're out investigating, man, and you want to come, you swing on by.
Absolutely. I would
You're more than
definitely be
welcome.
down.
We're looking at we're hoping for the spring, but now that I think about it, it already is this
It's
spring.
been-
so we're
it's
probably
been
looking
the
at
we need to
spring,
find
Ryan.
I mean, it's already there. We're hoping for May. Like we my summertime schedule, because you know where I work and all that, is it gets busy. So for me, July and August are out. So it's either spring, early summer, or fall on out. So, July,
it got
August
fucking
are all
cold the last time.
Yeah, it did. But so July and August are out. So if we're doing anything this spring, it's probably gonna have to be May at this point. So we're kind of running out of planning time.
Yeah, so if you know any places around,
we can put something together quick. But
we need to get on
yeah,
it.
we're running out of time. After that, September's not bad. After Labor Day, it doesn't get cold here until September.
We made 2
9th.
trips the first time.
Yeah.
We made 2 trips the first time. We thought we were going to the right spot. We ended up the wrong spot.
No,
and
we
it
went
took
out
us
like
another
October.
3 weeks.
We went out
It
like
took us another
October
3
20th,
weeks to be able to go
and it was
back
fucking
out.
cold.
It
And
was
then we went out
freezing, man.
like November 10th, and it was really fucking cold. We woke up the next morning; it was like 18 degrees. My head was frozen to the ground.
Yeah,
You guys want to do the Conjuring House?
Fuck yeah, absolutely.
I'd do the Conjuring House. Shit, yeah.
That's Connecticut, right? The parents.
That's not that
I think
far.
that's within your 150
all.
miles.
Oh yeah, I throw out a rough number, but yeah, all New England's
Yeah.
in play for us.
You know,
for
that
sure.
is, we were kind of
do they-
looking at some that.
Do they rent that?
So I met.
Yes.
Yes, he does. I met the guy that owns it back in September. He was vending at a Parafest up north, and then the Paranormal 5, Missy and Richie, have become friends with him. So if you guys want to do it, I can talk to them and figure something out for you.
Shit,
That would
yeah,
be
we'd be down
amazing.
for sure. We'd be down for
Hell
sure.
yeah,
That'd
we'd
be
do that
awesome.
in a
Thanks,
second.
bud.
All right. All right.
Yeah, we would 100% be
All right.
down
I'll
for that.
message them. It's 10 o'clock. I'll message them tomorrow and see what's up.
All right, man. If you want to go with us, man,
Oh,
if you
yeah.
can get the
Yeah.
time.
I'd definitely be down.
A collab podcast would be
Yeah.
badass.
Oh,
We
yeah.
could go
Maybe we
live.
can hit.
We could go
We
live
can
from
maybe
on
hit
site.
Joe from Tales, Trails, and Tavern and get him to come
Yeah.
up, too. He's
And
not
a free-
that far. He's just
I was
over in
gonna say,
Rhode
get a
Island.
three-way. That sounds a little weird, though.
Yeah, watch yourself there. Ryan's into those three-ways.
Not what I meant.
That's what he meant.
Yeah, even though David looking for his fucking pictures and shit, maybe that's what he meant.
I actually just asked Joe to be on the show too, and we scheduled for June.
Joe's a
He
great
is.
guy.
He's a wicked nice guy.
Yeah, it's awesome. Joe's a great guy. He's got a really good podcast. Guys, go check him out. Tales, Trails, and Taverns. We met him. He did a couple fire pits for us
I think
early
he's
on.
done 2 fire pits for us, and they've been great.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
and then he started his podcast. He's done a really good job.
Yeah, I enjoy it. But
yeah, I do too.
So closing question. Right before we wrap up, I like to ask: are you guys finding fulfillment in your lives? With everything that you're doing, with the success of the podcast, because you guys are like killing it with the podcast for sure. So, are you guys feeling like some fulfillment, with all that?
Well, first of all, I appreciate that, but I appreciate having us on, and I appreciate you saying that we're killing it. We've experienced some success, and we're having fun with that. Yes, for me personally, I am experiencing fulfillment. It came at a great time in my life where I was kind of going through like a personal separation and all that stuff. And that's not why I did it, but it came up during that time, and it was an amazing fill, and it still is, but that's not why I do it anymore, or ever why I did. It just kind of, it filled a gap. It more than filled it, you know what I mean? And I've had a blast doing it. So yes, I've experienced a lot of fulfillment from it, and I've had a blast doing it. I continue to have a blast doing it.
Yeah, I love it. It's all consuming for me. I need to have something in my life like that, and I get to do the podcast. I get to hang out with Ryan. He's like one of my favorite people on the planet. So when we're not pissing each other off, we're hanging out, having a great time. So we are family.
Not 90% of Thursdays
Right.
go smooth.
Yeah.
10% of battle. We get through it.
But no, it's been amazing. It's been a lot of fun. I never expected anybody would listen to the podcast. I thought maybe a few people would, but we've been growing steady. It's been growing really well. We've had a ton of support from people like you and other podcasts, and the podcast community is awesome.
For sure.
They are.
You know,
They've been
you go into a
amazing.
lot of
Absolutely
stuff,
amazing.
and the people are very competitive and stuff like that. There's a little competition in there, but it's nothing mean-spirited or anything like that. People are really friendly, and they're willing to help you out. They're willing to share your stuff, and it's a great community. You meet some great people. So, yeah, tons of fulfillment from it. I met a lot of online friends and met a lot of people with a lot of the same kind of interests that, you know, me and Ryan like this stuff, and so do some of our other family. But there's not a lot of people that like the same kind of weird shit, you know? Like you said, we're all we're weirdos, so this stuff isn't for everybody. But it's nice finding that audience of people who are just as weird as you are, and they want to hear your stupid shit. I can't believe anyone wants to listen to me. You know? It's just... Yeah, so it's
but
just
you and me
amazing.
together, and I would think it'd be like nails on a chalkboard, but for some reason, people seem to like, people seem to like it. We found the nails on the chalkboard crowd, I guess.
Yeah, we did.
I guess it's one of those meant to be things. I think for sure.
Yeah,
and we have a blast.
Yeah, I think the
doing
podcast community is.
Yeah, it's fun,
especially like the trailer trades and stuff that we're all a part of, and stuff like. I couldn't ask for like a better group of people, honestly. And it's growing, too. You know, we share all of each other's stuff, and we collaborate. And just like we're collaborating tonight, we're have you guys telling me your personal stories and stuff like that, and me coming on to your show. And it's, man, for me, because I've always had a hard time just like conversating with people to begin with. Not that like I don't like conversations. Like I love conversating. Like I just always had like a hard time finding like somebody that shared the same interests like with this stuff.
Yeah,
you know?
absolutely.
And
yeah, I get you.
You know, it's fun to even like podcasts that aren't even based on paranormal or cryptids or even conspiracies, that they'll befriend you and they'll share your stuff, and then all of a sudden they're like, you know, this one time, you know, I may have seen a ghost, or this happened to me.
Yep.
And I'm just like, that's pretty cool too. And then just like the girls over at goddamn, their podcast name is so long.
Like Mother, Like Murder?
Well, yeah, them.
Oh, no, I'm sorry.
The Outrageous Girls.
All things outrageously dark, scary, beautiful, and totally true.
They're starting to get into conspiracies, and I'm fucking loving it. It's fucking awesome.
Yeah. Yeah, they're doing some good ones.
Yes, this format allows you to find your people.
Your vibe finds your tribe.
Yeah, absolutely.
Sometimes you think the things you believe in and think about might make you a little bit weird, but once you get out there, you realize there's a bunch of us. They're just not people you bump into in everyday life. So this format is amazing. It allows you to find your people, and your people to find you.
Absolutely. Well, guys, I enjoyed this conversation, and I would love to have another one sometime soon whenever you guys are available. And like I said, I'd love to be on the show.
Absolutely, and we'll have you on also.
You're
we're going to come up
officially
with a
invited
format.
back on our show. We're going to come up with a new date, and
and we'll come up with a format where we can.
On, man.
Yeah, we'll find something that we can we do a group of us together or something. We'll come up with something cool, and then hopefully we go on this field trip. You can go with us.
Yes. So if you don't mind, one more time, letting the people know who you are and where they can find you.
So we are the Beyond the Shadows podcast, and you can find us where you find all your podcasts.
All the socials. You want to email us your story and have it read on air, you can email it to beyondtheshadows207 at gmail.com. That 207 is the main area code. So beyondtheshadows207 at gmail.com. You can send your stories if you want to listen to us. You can get us on Apple Podcasts. You can hear us on Spotify. Anywhere you listen to a podcast, we're on there. And we're not on YouTube yet or anything like that. No hurry. We're not that pretty. And but anywhere else you're looking. You find us mainly on Instagram for the socials, but we do have stuff on the other ones, and you can reach out, send your stories to any of them.
We cover all things dark, mysterious, haunted, UFOs, cryptids, all such things. If you guys dig that type of stuff, check us out. We'd love to have you.
I highly recommend it, everybody. Go check it out. I've been listening, not only because I've been on their show, but I was listening long before that, and I think you should too. I think you'll enjoy it. It's a lot of fun. There's a lot of laughing. There's a lot of information. Some funny-ass news stories. And then, they do some research too. So, and then the fire pit's always good. The fire pit's awesome. When they have one, anyway.
We are huge fans of Kevin. We're huge fans of Kevin on the show.
Sure.
And we're very grateful you guys listen to us, listen to Kevin. We'd appreciate if you come check us out as well. That'd be awesome. Thank you, Kevin.
Kevin, keep doing your thing. You do an amazing job. You do a good job interviewing.
You tear it up.
Keep it up.
Thanks, guys. I appreciate it.
Yeah, for sure.
Well,
glad we found you up the road.
Yeah, I know, right? Well, everybody, that is the show. Again, go follow them wherever we're on the socials and listen to them. Obviously, merch is wheretheweirdonesiarepodcast.com. Leave a like, share, follow, leave a rating and review. You can leave a rating and review on the website as well. And if you don't, that's totally cool. That's totally fine because I'll still love you anyway. So remember, question everything and stay weird.
This concludes our broadcast day. Click.
Because in the end, none of us have very long on this earth. Life is fleeting. And if you're ever distressed, cast your eyes to the summer sky. When the stars are strung across the velvety night, and when a shooting star streaks through the blackness, turning night into day, make a wish.